Any questions for the economists or for our practitioners? Yes?
I've got a question for the economists. The people of Washington, D.C. told us that the world would come to the end without this economic stimulus. I guess it's already can. I guess the leaders in Washington, D.C. have told us that the world would basically come to an end without this economic stimulus. Do you agree, disagree? Just your opinions.
With respect to what the Federal Reserve did, which is not what you're talking about, there had to be massive liquidity injected to calm things down throughout 2007, 2008. The problem started with hedge funds failing in 2007 and so forth and so on. But Lehman Brothers, that really was a crisis in liquidity that had to be countered. With respect to the vast bulk of the fiscal policy actions, no, I do not believe that they were necessary. I'm hopeful that they will be scaled back if and as the economy does look stronger by Labor Day. I mentioned that to a cab driver in Florida a few weeks ago, and he looked at me and he said, "How old are you? How naive are you? It'll never be scaled back. They'll spend what they want to spend." No, I think we overdid the stimulus.
How do you get all this extra money out of the economy without inflation?
Oh, can they withdraw the liquidity injections? Yeah, they can do that. It's going to be extremely tricky, but that's right. We have two extreme and opposite fears. One is lingering fears of depression or inability to recover. You may not feel going deeper, but you also may doubt that there's any source of strength in the foreseeable future. So that's the bearish part on the economy. On the other side, we have a fear of inflation. I was somewhat shocked to read last night that some people that I consider to be sober, calm, excellent economists like Gregory Mankiw were arguing that we need to have a few years of 6 or 7% inflation to grease the economic skids and get things going. I think that would be disastrous. I think that would be disastrous because once the confidence in the Fed and other government institutions is already low, to give up on inflation control, to be clearly perceived as an institution that doesn't care what inflation is when their responsibility is maintaining a strong dollar, a healthy economy, and so forth, would be disastrous. It would take us back to the mid-70s and early 80s, which were a disastrous period of time for the economy and for the markets. But the Federal Reserve can begin to sell bonds, can over a couple of years withdraw that liquidity. It's certainly possible. I don't mean to dominate.
Now we've got another question, I think, here too. Let's Don.
It was related to the inflation question. I mean, everything I'm seeing would indicate to me that we're going to go into a cycle of inflation. And I guess, how bad is that inflation cycle going to be?
Morris, do you want to take that one?
That's how bad inflation is going to be? Is that the question?
Yes.
I don't think we're going to have to worry about, overall nominal price level inflation until sometime next year when the economy really starts to reflate. You're seeing commodity inflation, particularly led by energy. You've got gold prices rising. And this is in anticipation of the U.S. economy rising, but this is not translating through the entire economic structure. But I agree with Claire that once this economy starts to get on its feet next year, the Federal Reserve is going to have to be fairly quick in removing the stimulus, raising interest rates, taking liquidity out of the system, or you are going to be seeing a pretty sharp jump in overall price level inflation as the economy reflates as we go into the second half of next year and certainly 2011 and 12. But for the moment, I would not be overly concerned about inflation in the near and intermediate term. And I think that if this economy doesn't